This is the serial and oral Latin course, and this is lesson or step 1. Step 1 comprises a number of introductory phrases which we need to learn so that we can start to build on them and start to acquire the structure of the language. The very first phrase is I have, and this is habeo, H-A-B-E-O, habeo. Although it's spelled H-A-B-E-O, we know from the Roman grammarians that it was pronounced a little bit like habeo with an I, not an E. That's because of the way that the O following the E affects the way it's pronounced. Usually, Latin letters are pronounced pretty closely to the way they are written. Habeo, habeo, I have. You have, habes, H-A-B-E-S, habes. Habeo, habes. The next word, in some dictionaries spelt with one L and others with two. Pilium, P-I-L-L-E-U-M, pilium. And this is a brimless hat. Now, when it's pilium, I want you to put a little arrow in front of it. This tells you that when the word is being acted on by the word, the verb, it changes. Pilium, P-I-L-L-E-U-M, and we'll learn more about that later. Just stick a little arrow in front of pilium. We have a little word at the end of the verb, or any word, ne, N-E, ne. And this word is a question mark, ne. So, habes, you have. Habes, ne. Do you have? Habes, ne. Do you have? H-A-B-E-S-N-E. Do you have a hat? Do you have a hat? Habes, ne. Pilium. Habes, ne. Pilium. And because the hat is being had, it changes from pilius, which is the normal form of the word, to pilium. Pilium. I have habeo, which we've seen already. Habeo, H-A-B-E-O. I have a hat. Pilium habeo. Pilium habeo. The next word is a verb. It's est, E-S-T, est, meaning it is. It is. Est. The next word we're going to look at is mihi, M-I-H-I, mihi, meaning to me. Mihi, to me. And tibi, to you. Est mihi. It is to me. Est mihi. Meaning, it's an idiomatic expression, but its meaning is I have. So, est mihi has got a similar meaning to habeo, I have. Pileus, P-I-L-L-E-U-S, pileus, is a brimless hat, a hat without a brim, as the thing itself. Pileus. I have a hat. Est mihi pileus. Now, this is literally, it is to me a hat. The hat is there, it exists, it is, and it is to me. So the hat's not being changed by the verb to be. The verb to be just says the hat exists, and it is to you, or in this case to me, with that form mihi. So it is pilius, est pilius, a hat exists, and est pilius mihi, the hat exists to me. It's not quite the same in the way the Latin works as habeo pilium. Habeo pilium, you are having the hat is being had, there's some kind of action that's being transferred onto the hat. And so the word for hat changes because it's being acted on by the verb habeo, I have. Est ne mihi. Is it to me? Est ne mihi. Remember this ne on the end acts as a question mark. It's technically called an enclitic, E-N-C-L-I-T-I-C. And the enclitic stuck on the end of the word, usually stuck on the verb, the doing word, change it into, tells us it's a question. So, est ne mihi pilius? Do I have a hat? Or is it to me a hat? Est ne mihi pilius? Est mihi pilius. I have a hat. Est mihi pilius. Tibi, to you. Tibi. Est ne tibi. Is it to you? In other words, do you have? Est ne tibi. Est is a verb. It's a joining verb, the copula. And the nominative case is the name of the noun when it is the subject or theme of the sentence. So a word in Latin in its normal or native form is called the cursus nominativus, the naming case, in this case pilius, the hat. Notice that when we use habeo, the word pilius, as I pointed out before, changed to pilium. Pilium is called the cursus accusativus. The word hat, in this case, is being acted on in some way. In this example, it's being had. The word est is far more like an equal sign in mathematics, and after est, the word pilius stays the same. Habeo, habes, I have, you have, etc., is transitive. In other words, the action crosses over to the object. The verb takes an object, something that is had, and in this example that we're looking at, a very simple example, the hat, which doesn't have a brim, is being had. And so the object of the verb is in the accusative case, cursus accusativus. Now there's no marker for the accusative case in English for most words. And so that's why I'm asking you to put the little arrow in front of the Latin to start with until we get this into our heads, that there's a separate form of the word and the arrow tells us that the action of the verb is moving across onto the word. So let's look at an example in English where the word does change. There are a few very unusual examples. They're not common across all of the words of a language. I'm going to use slightly Latinized grammar here to explain this. So we don't usually use Latin grammatical structures to explain English grammar, but it will help us here. The example I'm going to look at is he has him. He is the subject of a sentence, doing the action, has him. So what is being had? Him. We don't say he has he. We can say he has him fooled. He has him fooled. And we put the arrow in front of him, showing that has moved across the action onto him. He is in the nominative case. We cannot say he has he. We cannot say he has he fooled. We cannot either say him has he, because him is the accusative. Or we can't say either him has he fooled. So we have to use the accusative, him, after the transitive verb, have. He has him. Note that, just for memory's sake, the similar ending, pilius, goes to pilium, and he goes to him, both in this case ending in M. He has him. Once again, helping you get this idea into your head. Habet means he has. habet. Habet pilium. Habet pilium. We cannot say habet pilius. Habet pilius is as wrong as saying he has he. Do you have the hat? Habesne pilium. I have got the hat. Pilium habeo. Pilium habeo. Do you have the hat? Using the nominative. Est ne tibi pilius. Literally, is it to you a hat? Est ne tibi pilius. I have the hat. Est mihi pilius. Est mihi pilius. We're now going to move on to the oral exercise. The vast amount of learning in this course will take place through these oral exercises, and there are an enormous number of them. Every time we introduce a new grammatical point, a new word, there will be an associated oral exercise that will make use of this word immediately in speech. The oral exercise, if this were conducted in a classroom, would be a scripted conversation between the teacher and the pupils. Obviously, in a classroom situation, the teacher can be much more flexible and introduce things that are of personal interest to the students as well. If this were conducted in a class, the question would be asked to each student in turn, going around the room. If a student cannot answer immediately, that student is skipped over and the next student is asked, and so on and so on, just going round and round the class until everybody can answer the question correctly, and then we move on to the next question. So all in all, the student is hearing the teacher many times. The student is hearing the repetition of the answers of the other students many times. So by the time an exercise is finished, the student has heard an expression hundreds of times. And this helps to reinforce the material, especially in the beginning when we are trying to rewire our brains to cope with the very different structures of the Latin language. Repetitio est mater studiorum. Repetition is the mother of learning, and this course has got large amounts of repetition. Hopefully the variation will be sufficient to keep up the interest. And also I'm including little stories and little dialogues, etc. along the way. So here we have our first oral exercise. I'm going to ring a little bell after the question, and then when the bell goes, you can either press the pause button and write your answer down, or you can try formulate your answer orally in the short space of time I'm going to leave before I give the answer. Habesne pilium. Pilium habeo. Estne tibi pilius. Est mihi pilius. I'm now going to introduce a new word. This is penna, P-E-N-N-A, and in brackets after that word write this down, feminini generis, F-E-M-I-N-I-N-I G-E-N-E-R-I-S, of feminine gender, feminini generis, and then with the arrow write P-E-N-N-A-M, pennam, pennam. Notice that the M on the end of the Latin word simply nasalizes the final vowel. It actually isn't pennam, it's pennam. Don't overdo it, but it's extremely important, especially when later on we get to reading Latin poetry, that you realize that the M isn't a consonant, it's simply a sign that the final vowel is nasalized. Pennam. Penna, pennam. This is a late Latin word. I think it first occurs in Isidore of Seville, if my memory doesn't fail me. And it's a word for a quill pen, coming from the word for feather. And our word pen, of course, is descended from it. A reed pen, of the type that the Romans used themselves, is calamus, calamus, this is masculini generis, giving us calamum in the casus accusativus, and a stylus for writing in wax, which was a metal implement, is stylus, S-T-I-L-U-S, stylus. And this is also masculini generis, M-A-S-C-U-L-I-N-I, generis, masculini generis, giving us with a little arrow, stylum. But the word we're interested in at the moment is penna and pennam. Penna and pennam. Exercitatio linguae Latinae. Exercitatio, exercise, linguae, of language, Latinae, of Latin. So exercise of the Latin language. Exercitatio linguae Latinae. Habesne pennam? Pennam habeo. Estne tibi penna? Est mihi penna. Habesne pilium? Pilium habeo. Estne tibi pilius? Est mihi pilius. Habesne calamum? Calamum habeo. Estne tibi calamus? Est mihi calamus. Habesne stylum? Stylum habeo. Estne tibi stylus? Est mihi stylus. And that brings us to the end of the first step. So welcome to the Latin language, and I hope you progress well. Bye.